access. Thanks, Emily. I just go into jiggle mode. Down deep below the surface. Down deep below the surface. Full access. Thanks, Emily. I just go into jiggle mode. Down deep below the surface. Down deep below the surface.
Universal. Oh, yeah, baby. It is time for another episode of the Think Different podcast. That's right. It is episode 52 here today, and we still cannot find Mr. Frank Funk. We have no idea where he is. He is literally not found. Even Carmen Sandiego cannot find Mr. Frank Funk, but we have somebody here to help us out because today starts our brand new Apple retail series. What is that about? Well, that is all about every role inside of an Apple store. That's right. We're going to talk about a specialist, a technical specialist, a genius. We're going to talk about business. We're going to bring up all these different roles and how they work on an everyday basis and maybe see if you could be the right person to join the Apple team. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you all check out our Facebook and Instagram. It's at Think Different Podcast. And then, of course, our Twitter at ThinkDiffPod. And leave us a 5-star review anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Apple Podcasts. Heck, if you have a Zune or a CD player, leave us a 5-star review. We need those reviews, people. But I have a special guest today.
Hi, this is Chris Howard, host of Plugged In with Chris Howard. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs. Whether it's pro or college hoops, BetOnline has it all throughout the entire college and pro hoop season. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends you can follow all season long. Follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. And you can follow on your desktop or your mobile device. So head to the website today and become part of the team. BetOnline, the game starts here.
And you see how I did that? Because our first part of our series is going to be a specialist and an expert on one episode. And I thought of one man that could do this episode with me. I could say I'm almost like a father figure to him. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to welcome to the episode, Mr. Cruz. Cruz, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Will, man. Glad to be here, man. I'm honored that you would even introduce me in that way. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, I'm happy to introduce it now. So everyone knows, because you're brand new to our episode, you have not been on our show before. He's a long-time listener, first time on. Tell us who you are and tell us a little bit about at least a small brief of how long you were at the Apple Store and what roles you did.
I was at the Apple Store from 2011 to 2018. And by then, by 2018, I pretty much did every role, but not officially. My official roles were specialist and expert. Those were the two roles that I fulfilled.
Yeah, and we're going to go through the differences between those two because I thought those two kind of work together. They're really the same. In a way, they're almost the same role in a way, but there are some subtle differences. There is a higher, experts are considered a higher level than a specialist. So we're going to break that down. But I got to tell you, Cruz, what is it like to be, is this the first podcast you ever been on?
It's funny you asking me that, man. This is the third podcast in 3 days.
Third podcast in 3 days? Oh my God. Those
Yes.
other ones must not be you say the best for last because you know this was the podcast that everybody loves listening to, especially you.
All right. Yeah, I think you saved the best for last. This is probably my last podcast for the year.
Okay, the year. Okay, well that means I can't invite him back on. Okay, so we're gonna have to break down a specialist as a full-time, part-time, and they actually started doing a part-time temporary, which started, I believe, this year. I don't know if you read about that, Cruz, but remember, it was always full-time, part-time. Part-time temporary means that they are literally going to be 5 months or less, and they're going to be gone. And that was something Apple never did, because they always wanted people that were dedicated.
Yes. Interesting.
Yeah,
What was the reason for that move?
it's no idea, sir. I'm sure it has to do with retail during the holidays, I'm assuming, and they started that. I mean, I don't see that going on right now, I'm sure, because of COVID, but
Right.
I definitely think during the holiday they started that for the first time. So someone was coming aboard, was only going to be there temporarily, and was going to leave. I'm a little shocked that they did that. I'm sure they didn't give them all the benefits either. I'm thinking there were some things that were
Right.
missing from that, but interesting that they started that this year. So let's talk about the role of a specialist. So I'm going to read through the summary. This is right on Apple Jobs website. Okay, so this is the heading. Do you love to how it feels to encourage others? As a specialist, you help create the energy and the excitement around the Apple products, providing the right solutions and getting products into the customer's hands. You understand that the Apple Store is dedicated to delivering a customer experience that's unlike any other. It starts with you discovering the customer needs, and with the support of your store team members, you match those needs with the right products. Every day is an opportunity for you to turn another Apple Store visitor into an Apple loyal customer.
Sign me up, man. I
Yeah.
want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
aren't we? Yeah. So that's pretty much right on the money. What that is the idea of it. Let's talk about some key qualifications. Strong interest in technology, particularly Apple products, and the agility at learning new products and features. The ability to deliver great customer experiences in any environment, and to be invigorated by constant personal interaction. Strong communication skills that let you converse as freely and comfortably with small groups with individual customers. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because I'm one of the key reasons you started at Apple.
Yes, indeed you were.
Do you remember
Well,
how that went? Do you remember how that went?
Ye-
How?
I have a perfect picture image of how that went. I cannot forget. It was so you apply, you see the job qualifications, and when you read the job qualifications, when I read it, I mean, I was like, yes. It was describing who I was as a person generally. I knew that the technology knowledge had to be there, but not so much, because whatever I don't know, I'm going to learn once I get there. So that was my mentality already. And I was new to Apple products, by the way. I think my first product was the iPhone, and then it went to the Mac. But I remember applying and didn't think that I would ever get a call back, because I don't know if you're like me, but anything when I do something, whether I'm applying to a school or a job or anything, I'm researching a lot about it. And when I did my research, I kept hearing, well, it's hard to get in, and they do this and they do that and all that. So I really didn't think that I was going to get a call back once I applied. But I think I got a call, or actually an email, but it was a weird email for someone responding to an application. It was to come to the Apple Store for an event. So I wasn't really being called into an interview. I was being called into an event with multiple people. And I said, well, that's interesting. But I knew, I had like this hunch that, wait, this is not just an event or information session or something like that. This is an interview. This is just an interview masked as an event. So I think what they're going to do is that they're going to look to see who fits and how they engage with one another and all that. I was like, okay, easy breezy. Because I love being around people. And so I said, well, great, you're putting me around people. I think I shine the best when I'm around others. And so I came to that event, and what happens in this event is that they break you up into groups. And each group has activities or some sort of lesson that they're going to be learning. And you were my leader for this
Yes, sir.
group. Yeah, and so I was just a lucky guy to have you as my leader, because as soon as I met you and saw your energy, I was like, well, that's like, I like you. You know what I mean? I like this guy. He has a lot of energy, and I'm going to feed off of that because I feed off of other people's energy and everything. And so, I wasn't surprised after that. Like, I was surprised that I got the call back, but I wasn't really surprised after I got the call back after that event because I felt like I was just on the road that day.
Right.
And then noticing the others around me, I'm like, well, wake up, guys. Everybody was, dead. So not all, everybody. I think there was some other people that you picked, but it was just an interesting day, to say the least.
Right, and the main thing is, the one thing we were trying to do was we were trying to sell, like, you were trying to sell me this pencil, or you were trying to, like, get me interested in a product that wouldn't make any sense. And that's how we determine how someone is able to deliver a great customer experience, and the person that stood out was you. And I've been there so long. I've been over 5 years at Apple at that point, and I knew like there was like something in you. So when they asked us for feedback, I said the number one person in my group that I felt was the right guy was Cruz. So
thank you.
And that was, and then after that you got another interview privately, and then that's when you got hired, correct?
Well, there was 3 more interviews actually.
Yeah, there is a lot of interviews.
Yeah, that was another surprising thing. I'm like, this is a retail store. I felt like I was being interviewed for, an engineering position at a firm, but like,
right.
They was really taking this job seriously, and they showed it by interviewing me multiple times.
Mm-hmm. And that's why the key qualification. That's why I wanted to bring up your story, because I felt that coming from you, and I knew you'd be the right guy. And heck, and I was right, because you were there for 8 years. So, what the worst part about that, Cruz? I was trying to get on a team to hire people for years. I've been trying because I think I had the right vision of what an employee at Apple is, but I just kept having a hard time doing that. And I never got to do another one of those again. You were the only one, and of course you got hired. So and you lasted a long time. So I think that tells me what kind of talent I saw in people. But let's keep going down the description of it. As a specialist, you are highly skilled at uncovering customers' needs, then following through with enlightening solutions. Not only are you the first person customers meet when they enter the store, which is a kind of an asterisk on that, but you're also the person who guides them, advising, selling, and even setting up their products. That's a little fishy too. You perform other roles within your store too, whether it's maintaining visual merchandising or assisting team members. Always curious, you stay on top of news about products and initiatives, ready to apply your learning in customer interactions. Your success is measured by the team and the individual productivity, as well as overall store performance. You're proud to represent Apple, and you get great satisfaction from helping customers develop lifelong relationships with Apple. So that is the description. Now, where I was kind of iffy was where it says even setting up their new products, which you are, but it doesn't mention that you're kind of passing it off.
Yeah.
To somebody else. That's like the nuts and bolts
handoff.
of that. The handoff.
Handoff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Those terms. I say I'm getting those
coming
terms
back to me.
They are coming back to me too. And then where it says you're the first person that customers meet with in the store. Would you say, Cruz, that you were in the front of the store a lot, or did you feel like you weren't like all the way up there all the time?
Oh, I was in the front of the store a lot.
But there were a lot of people that weren't.
Yeah, they were.
And you could tell.
Yeah. The store I was at, it was interesting because, after 8 years, you're not the same person you were when you first got hired. You develop and you've grown and you've learned other, capabilities and competencies, being there 8 years. But when you start, man, I was surprised of how competitive my team was. And I learned quickly because I'm a competitive guy. And not in a competitive fashion where we were against each other, like it was some sort of like war or something like that, but it was competitive in the sense that everybody wanted to fulfill the what was required of them and then some, right? Go above and beyond, right? And so the only way I could have achieved what I was able to achieve at that store was to stay up front as much as I can and limit my interactions with my fellow employees. Not eliminate them, but interact with them with my whole body facing forward, right? Not engage to them and be locked in to a conversation, because then I'm gonna miss that person that walks in, right? I noticed that if I do that, I'm gonna miss. And you know, something about the Apple store, like there's people constantly coming in, constantly leaving, constantly coming in, more people coming in than coming out, right? Which is, that's what we want. Like, yeah, we want more people coming in and less people coming out. We want people to stay at the Apple store. And the way I did that was just stay up front. And I would immediately greet the person that came in. Not bombard them, not feel like they're being swarmed or smothered, but like, hey, how you doing? I'm here. If you have any questions, let me know, you know. And you know, and that's what allowed me to build relationships with my with the consumers that came in, with the customers. So yeah, you have to be upfront in order to do that.
Correct. And now I want to kind of compare it to an expert. So I want to see, again, this is like trying to compare what a specialist does and what an expert does. So this is an expert's summary description. Are you passionate about sharing your knowledge of Apple products? We're looking for people who get great satisfaction from helping people develop lifelong relationships with Apple every day. The Apple Store is a retail environment like no other, uniquely focused on delivering amazing customer experiences. As an expert, whether you work full-time or part-time, you'll introduce people to the exciting world of Apple, having meaningful interactions, offering customized solutions, and turning a curious visitor into a loyal customer. With the deep understanding of Apple products and services, you spend time mentoring team members and serving as a role model for your team. Now, if I put those two together, like let's say I put them side by side, but I don't have the role there, they're really the same.
Right, very similar.
The only thing that will be different is probably the last thing on the bottom, which was you spend time mentoring team members and serving as a role model for your team.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so
that's the biggest difference actually.
Right.
In fact, as the years went by and you know, the expert role actually changed to more of what the last part you just read, more of leaders, almost like you know, Apple had always these interesting terms like specialist, expert, you know. I mean, and I always looked for synonyms. Like, okay, what are the others? Like, what synonyms out there can work? Because other retail stores don't use these roles, like supervisor, right? A supervisor. Expert is more like a supervisor role, who's but more than a supervisor role, the typical supervisor role, because they're also engaging customers and selling product. But at the same time, they're looking over the overall success of the team. So they're not just looking at their own individual success and results. They're now impacting others and looking and shining a light on other people's results.
Yeah, and so again, they're just kind of like the leader of the specialist. So instead of becoming like a lead specialist, they just got a fancy name for them. These are the key qualifications: demonstrated proficiency in technology, particularly Apple products, and the ability to quickly learn about new products, proven experience in sales and technology solutions, as well as developing customer loyalty, the ability to constantly deliver great customer experiences no matter what the situation. What I find interesting about Apple, and this goes through everything I'm going to go through, they're not going to ask you for years of experience. You notice I didn't bring up a number.
Right.
So they don't put a number on how many years of experiences. If you are able to not only demonstrate how great Apple products are, but how you are able to deliver the experience, and you have examples of experiences that you bring to your interviews, you'll get hired. And that's one of the mistakes that people think, that it's all about your years of having it. It's not about that.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to read the whole description, but basically this is the first one that I think is the most important. You're a leader in sales, product knowledge, and solutions, and highly influential in how you engage your customers.
Yes.
So basically, you have to be the top salesperson on your team to get this role. That's
Yes.
and typically I don't remember ever an expert being hired externally. That it's always internal.
The early years, that when I first started, but they did during my last years there, they were starting to hire people externally.
For that role?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but you're right. That was never the case. In fact, even though they advertised it, in fact, let me tell you something. Will, I applied for the expert position at first. You know?
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the role that I wanted, and
It's
then
that long. It's been around. I'm a little surprised it's been around that long.
Yeah. The expert role was there before I got there in 2011, and applied for that, didn't get that, but for those who are interested in that role and thinking about it, I mean, this was my approach. Like, since I applied for that role, what I pretty much did once I got hired for the specialist role is that I acted like an expert as a specialist. I said, well, I'm a specialist, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fulfill the job requirements and descriptions of an expert. And I think that allowed me to get the expert role because I was already functioning like an expert before I got the role, which is the case in a lot of promotions and stuff like that,
Right. So let's talk about a day of the life as a specialist. I think this would be very interesting to talk about, see what you think. And I want to hear from you because you have the best thing. So let's talk about download and easy pay. So let's just start off with the actual device.
Whoa, yeah. So the easy pay, man, when I started, I think it was like an iPhone 4. Or no, actually it was an iPhone 3. I don't know. It was an old phone. And it was an iPhone with just one user-face software, Easy Pay, and that allowed you to clock in, right? You sign in, and once you sign in, you're clocked in. You begin to work.
Yeah, there's no grace period on that.
Right, exactly. So you begin to work, and then, or at least you're on the clock. Not necessarily on the floor, but you once you sign in, you're on the clock, and you're looking. The first thing you look at is the queue, because depending on what shift you're coming in. If you're a morning shifter, then you're there to open up the store, so there's nobody in the store yet. But when you're coming in like midday, they expect a whole bunch of people waiting for you to serve them. So what you do is you look at how many people. And usually I remember that there would be what you call the point person.
Right.
And the point person will be literally at the middle of the store where he can have a peripheral, a panoramic view of the whole store, if you will. And you would check in with that person because there might be some situation going on where they set up. You check with that person and they tell you, go with this person, go with that person. So you just go by that. And the interesting thing is, like, I remember trying to learning, well, how am I going to find the people? It was amazing when I would see descriptions of the person.
Yep,
like what clothes they're wearing and all that.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And you're looking around to see, okay, who's this person? And it was always amazing how it worked. Like it was always spot on. You had to be really, really thorough with your descriptions in order for you to be spot on. But
they made it easier now. Now they made that a lot easier. Right before I left, where they now can you can put blue shirt. Like, we used to have to type that out, and
yes.
finally they changed it to where they put what they're wearing and what product they want. Also, we had table numbers.
Table. Yep. The what was it called? It was table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4, and so you would go to the table. You would learn the grid of the store, and you would go to that table, and they will always be surprised to just hear somebody come up and say their name. Say, "Hey, Bob," or "Hey, John,"
Yeah, and they'd be surprised, like, how did you know it was me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that all the time.
And I never gave up that information. I always loved that the mystery
secret.
and the suspense. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right, and that leaves like I almost tell them like the Apple Store is like a one huge magic trick.
Yeah.
So
It is.
It really is. Explain some of the zones that you were set up at different times. You don't have to really break down the zones, but just a couple of different ones and maybe like a one sentence of what they did.
Yeah, I mean, to use my own terms, like they had different tiers, like, that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and you had the iPhone. The red zone was where all of the hero products were at, right? The hero products are what makes the Apple Store, the line of the Apple products: MacBook Pros, MacBooks, iPhones, iPads, iPods. Pretty much that was it. This was way before the Apple Watch and the pencil and all that. And they didn't have too many iPads, but that was the zone, the red zone. And then there was the accessory. First, there was actually, before you got to the accessory, there was the setup. Personal setup, we call it personal setup, where you would do a warm handoff to the person that will help you set up your computer or your phone once you buy it. And then there's the accessory walls, where you would get all the accessories for your iPhones, your Mac computers, and all that. And then there's the Genius bar right after that. And so that was pretty much the zone setup.
And what was your day in the life of it?
Oh man, the day in the life of a specialist, coming in, if you got there early in the morning to open up, which was always fun. It was always fun to open up because you actually helped what we would call the backroom specialists.
Yeah, I always
Right?
and that basically was just scanning product just to make sure everything was kind of up to date. So you basically just helped them out in the morning.
Yeah, you would help them out to set up the computer.
Yeah, and that's only if you work the morning. Otherwise, you probably won't
Right,
do that.
but if you didn't work the morning, I mean, the day in life is just go in, you check your computer, man, and in the back, man, it was heaven, I think, in the back, because you walk in and you see nothing but rows of iMac computers, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you go
it's
into
crazy.
the iMac computer, you sign in, and you of course you got your employee information, all that, but really the first thing you do is check your emails, because when I started there, email was primarily the way the management communicated with all the employees.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people don't know this, man, but the retail stores, each retail stores have at least 100 to 200 employees there.
Yes, they do, and you could look at stores like New York that probably have close to 500, based on the 24-hour environment. So yeah, but our store in New Jersey, most of them are about 100 people.
Right. Well, I actually, I went to the store in Jersey.
Yes,
where we
and then
first
you went
started,
to Staten Island. Yeah.
Then I went to actually Long Island out there in Garden City, and so that store was triple the size.
That's crazy.
Triple the size, and you check the emails, but then there was download.
Yeah.
You had this
Your
meeting.
15-minute meeting. Yep.
Yes, your 15-minute meeting. Now, usually they would have them in the morning for opening and then one for closing. But during the time I was there, they would actually have mid downloads. In fact, experts were in charge of giving downloads. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we would give mid downloads if you're coming in
later in the day.
Yeah, and later in the day, you're just handed an iPad and say, hey, will you lead the mid download? Somebody will update you on what has been going on and what's the focus of today. And really, it's 15 minutes of just motivation and to get people focused on what they need to achieve that day. We would look at numbers.
Yeah.
We would look at results. It was fun. I would say the day in the life of a specialist was fun. Hard work. Expect working hard, but expect having a lot of fun doing it.
I'm going to ask you a crazy question. See if you remember. You don't have to say the number, or you can give me a range. The most money made at an Apple store in one day, and I'm sure Black Friday was the day.
Okay, you ready for this, man? $125,000.
That's actually small compared to what I used to get.
Okay. That was just on iPhones.
Okay.
That was just iPhone sales.
Okay.
Yeah, I think counting the MacBooks, especially in those busy days, man.
I mean, do you remember, like, because every year I'd always ask, what's the Black Friday number before I left? And I would look at it and be like, oh my God. Like, Apple makes a ton of money on Black Friday.
Oh, they make money. Like on a Black Friday, I think it's
at least triple probably what that was.
Yeah, me alone is like $350,000 of products, maybe more. I don't know. I was always so back in the days they had the blue and the blue zone, the blue results, the red results. I forgot what you call them, but I was always top 5, and sometimes always number 1 on that store at the Cherry Hill store, and that's what allowed me. There was one time where I sold the most products in the whole region. I landed at number 2 or number 1 for the whole region for the stores. What do you call those when like we were all like
ovations?
Yeah, because it was like Cherry Hill, then there was these other stores, and we were all like
right.
And I remember getting like a special recognition, honors or recognition for all those results, and so yeah, man. But yeah, like it. So I don't know. So when I was there, you had what we would call resellers. And most of the numbers that I made was through resellers. They were. I remember one time I came into the store, and literally the whole day from the start of my shift to the end of my shift, I was selling products to this family that kept coming in one after another. And literally, I had to make a line, a separate like queue for them, and I was just ringing up phones at full price, and always the largest capacity, just ringing them, and it was really transactional, which we try not to be. We try not to be transactional. We try to be transformational, is what they will always say. When you can't help but to, because the people don't want you to be transformational with them, the resellers. They want you to be transactional. So it's like, we just here to buy. So sell me something, and then it becomes transactional.
So let's break down a little bit more on Glassdoor. I thought we'd go through the Glassdoor. I think it's a great way to get an idea of what you're going to get paid there and what the feedback was from some people. So I'm going to ask you as a guest, what do you think the average hourly pay that a specialist would be?
Today?
Yep.
Today? I think the average would be anywhere from $15 to $17, $18 an hour.
All right, you're right on the money, sir. $17 is the average base pay.
Yeah.
That they have down there. Now let's talk about some of the reviews that people said. Now this is going to be, I'm going to do one negative, one positive. So the negative was, I've been working for Apple full-time for more than 8 years. Pros, good benefits, medical insurance, dental cover, eye care, gym membership. Apparently it looks good on your resume. Cons, benefits don't put bread on the table. Does not make up for the low wages for non-salaried staff. Financially stunt wages and rises. I don't know what that means. Financially stunted wages and rises. Glass ceiling, very little progression, specifically in the retail stores. Advocates equal pay for equal work, but staff in the same roles will be on different rates of pay. Inherent sexism. Low percentage of females in advanced roles. Demands more than they're willing to give. Poor work-life balance as they will not implement shift patterns, absolutely reeking of hypocrisy in their culture and values. This was from December 14th of 2018. So let's break that down because that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Now, you got to remember, this guy worked full-time for 8 years. So, first off, why the hell didn't you leave earlier if you really hated it? So, like, that's what I'm trying to figure out, if you didn't like it. Because I think anybody that worked there more than 5 years liked their job. I mean, that's just me.
Right.
But I get benefits don't put bread on the table, but it gives you it doesn't make up for low wages. Okay, I can get that as a specialist. You could probably I could see that. The glass ceiling, very little progression, specifically in retail stores. I completely agree with that.
I completely agree with that too. Yeah.
They make up these fake roles that think you're bigger than what you are, but they're more internal, and they're not really anything bigger than what you are.
Right.
Advocates equal pay for equal work, but staff in the same roles will be on different rates of pay. Well, that's a little stupid because people could have been there different times and got different raises for different things.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that the sexism that I don't see. There's a lot of females that are either leaders or senior managers. I do not see that whatsoever.
Yeah, so I think it's just maybe on a case by case basis because
this is definitely
all Apple stores are not equal. You know,
no,
they
but
have different demographics and stuff. So,
but this almost feels like this guy never left another Apple store in his life. Like he always was in one store and it never changed. Now that could be a store leader being like that. This one is probably the one that everyone agrees with: poor work-life balance.
Ooh, oh yeah.
And that is a 100% yes.
That's 100%.
The number one reason why people would probably leave that store.
Yeah. The long hours that you're there and the amount.
And you're
hours.
working. By the way, you're working 8 hours plus a 1 hour break, so you're really there 9 hours.
You're really there 9 hours, and if you're, and you're the great thing is that you're. So he complained about salary. I mean, the great thing is that you were getting paid by the hour. So you were getting paid for how
salary. You'd be there as long. They could have kept you there.
They could have kept you there for overnight, and you still getting paid the same. But us, like, if you were lucky, you would be there for 10 or 11 hours. You get overtime. Yeah. And then by the time I left, they had this thing where if you were working there after 10 o'clock, they're adding cents to your hourly wage on top of the overtime pay. So, I mean, payment was. I mean, I couldn't complain. I mean, I couldn't complain about the payment. Yes, there's always more, right? But I couldn't complain because it was a retail store and you were getting paid more than any other retail store would ever.
Yes, that is 100% right. All right, so let's talk about a review of a 5-star. Pros, higher than average pay. There you go. You just mentioned that, right? That's the first thing you just mentioned. Awesome benefits, yes. Opportunity for advancement, yes and no, depending on the store. Right. Surrounded by great people, absolutely.
Right.
The ability to make a difference, absolutely. Cons, retail hours and holiday schedule. Yep, that is true. This is another one that could be a con. Being on your feet the entire day.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you
get
15-minute breaks twice. I mean,
you
so
get 15
you're not
minutes. I mean, it depends on your attire. I really, really, really believe so. Like, wear comfortable shoes, be hydrated. I mean, all of that. Some of that is subjective, right?
Right.
I mean, if you didn't get a good night's sleep before you started,
oh, you are right about that.
Yeah, you're gonna feel it, right? If you didn't, if you're wearing some Vans. Your feet's gonna be hurting, but yeah, you're staying on your feet. But if you're really working, those hours go by fast, and you
it's true. That is true.
Yeah, you don't realize how long you've been standing. I think you feel. I remember many times you feel it once you leave and you get back to your home and you're like, woo. It hits you then. It's like, whoa.
It does. You're right.
But the whole time you're there, it is a marathon. And I don't like to use cliches, but it's the survival of the fittest, I guess.
That's right.
You got to be fit.
Now, this is interesting. There's a section called Advice to Management. Keep building team members who want to do better. Be faster to cut the fat with employees who are burnt out, in a bad mood, not interested in getting better. Apple gives so many chances to so many people.
Oh,
and I agree with that.
Totally
There's a lot of people that should be fired because they really just don't. But they just don't do it because they believe in building them up and improving them.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know why, but they just don't.
Yeah,
They just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree wholeheartedly because I know that there's been amazing talent that have left for whatever reason, and but there's been people there staying there for years that, like, I'm like, how are you still here? You know, like,
Yeah.
like, and it's not like they're bad folks because at the end of the day, Apple still requires you to perform. That's another thing I tell.
They just don't want to be. That's just not their dream job. You know that's what it is.
Exactly, and maybe I don't know maybe with the situation, but it's like, look, that's the thing I tell people. Like, it is a performance-based job. Apple is a performance-based job. They want to see performance, and I've seen people that didn't perform at all, like or performed minimally. Like they did the. And I guess because maybe as long as they're doing the bare minimum. You can't, like, I guess it's maybe a legal thing. You can't just get rid of somebody because, you know, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the overall status. So I'm going to let you, Cruz, give your star rating. This is 1 out of 5 stars. Overall, what would you say out of 5 stars? What would you give Apple?
I would give 4.
Okay. 4.2 is the overall. Culture and value.
Culture and value, 5.
Okay, so 4.4 is the average. Work-life balance.
Whoa, that's a 3.
Yeah, 3.7 is the average. I would have said 3 too, because they are lenient to you if you need to take off, as long as you put it ahead of time. Senior management.
I would give them a 4.
Okay, 3.6 was the average. Compensation and benefits.
5.
Yeah, 5. That's exact. I would 100% agree on a 5.
Yeah.
Now, and then the final one, career opportunities.
Ooh. That's okay. That's a 3.5.
Okay, you're right on the money. 3.6.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have given it probably like a 3.5 would have been right. I definitely think they have to find ways to make the retail store a lot better for some people, and they have. They definitely over the years, from when I've been there, for what they've added to it, they definitely have improved that.
Yeah.
But there's only so far you can go.
Well, you know, I was being gracious to the management. Like, I mean, I could see why people would say 3.6 and all that.
I could too. Yeah. I could too. You know, I could too. But also, there are some great managers that I have dealt with.
Yeah.
That have been tremendous. So so that pretty much, you know, and then the final percentages was 82% recommend to a friend, CEO is 93% approval, and positive business outlook 71%. Those are the results from Glassdoor. So it comes down to you guys. Do you want to work in their Apple retail store? I think that having the word Apple on your resume doesn't hurt you whatsoever. It really is a good thing to have, and you know, you have the opportunity to not only do this, but you do have experiences you can do with Apple in a corporate setting if you're lucky to get that opportunity. And be chosen to do that. They definitely don't do it as much as I think they should, but they definitely have a chance to improve. So, Cruz, overall, man, you know, I mean, I know it's hard to, you know, from an expert to a specialist. The pay was, what was it, like a $2 increase? Yeah,
but and then when I moved to New York, it was a big increase.
Because New York obviously has to pay you more.
Yeah.
So that's, so I would say that, you know, as a specialist, it's getting your foot into the door of Apple. You could definitely do so much more inside there. But I think pretty much everybody almost starts as a specialist.
Yes.
Very rare you get someone that starts as a genius or a technical. I would say today there's more chances of you starting as a technical expert or a technical than it would be as a specialist now today.
Right, and so especially Cruz, with the whole pro position too, the new, you know, the other pro positions that they added.
Yeah, that they don't talk about. Yeah, there are hidden positions that they do have, but I don't talk about them because you can't apply for them, so there's no point in really talking about them. So, Cruz, I want to thank you so much for coming on, dude. It was a longer podcast than I thought it would be, but there's so much good information you were able to give us today, especially the breakdown of the day. So I want to thank you for coming on, and I appreciate all the information you gave everybody. And, you know, again, that I always go to every person about this. Would you return to Apple if you could,
I would.
or if you wanted to?
I would return. Yeah, if
Okay.
I wanted to. Yeah.
And that,
It's
there isn't a
it's-
person that said no.
Yeah, it's not. It was. I mean, it was a great. And I got hired as a part timer, and so I had another job right before I became a full timer, right? And I had the opportunity to compare the two. I mean, there's no retail store that you will ever work for that's going to be as amazing as the Apple Store, and the experience, the friendships that you look. Will and I are still friends after 8 years, and
Yep.
we're and even though you might not get promoted and find some other jobs within the store, it does prepare you for the job market elsewhere.
Right. And they do, and by the way, they absolutely do love. They do love Apple former employees. They will take them.
Yes.
So that's for sure. All right. Thank you very much, Cruz. Thank you very much for joining me for the Think Different podcast. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
And I'll never forget the day you left Apple. You sent me an email when you left on the day at Apple, which meant a lot to me, that you reached out to me while you were leaving, and you did your long email goodbye. And so I always remember that, and I always appreciate that. And I do appreciate that.
Oh, man. I appreciate you, my man. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for joining us here for the Think Different podcast. Please sign up and subscribe every single week. We are here every Friday morning. We thank you guys, and you have a great rest of your weekend enjoying some Think Different podcast action. And where's Frank?
Where is he?